See if people. No one's coming in at the moment, are they?
Well, we are.
Oh,
Well,
they are.
yeah, they're beginning to. So, good morning to people who are joining us. Still just this morning.
It is, yeah. Back 2 minutes. 2 minutes to go, isn't it? So,
Yeah.
they're coming in at pace now, Howard and Ambrose. So,
So I'll hand it over to you then, Andrew, if you're happy.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'll disappear in the background.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes, good morning, folks. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. Don't forget the clocks go back tomorrow. So we get eagerly awaiting an extra hour of this fantastic year, which we get tomorrow at the weekend. So we are expecting 40 or 50 today. So it's only 2 minutes to. So if you could bear with us, we normally allow a minute or two after the hour before we make a start, because there's normally a queue of people waiting to get in at midday. So welcome to you all. Delighted to say we've got Ambrose McGuire here from HS2. So I'm sure the next hour or so is going to be an interesting time. So looking forward to what you're going to have to say, Ambrose. But as I say, we'll just give it another minute or so before we make a start, because we are expecting, as I say, 40 or 50 people today. So that's good. And certainly these Friday webinars have proved to be really popular and really valuable for Constructing Excellence members and supporters. And it's a great way of communicating all the best practice that's going on throughout the UK. So that's good.
I understand, Andrew, we're being joined by members from the Southwest as well, which is where I'm based.
Midlands, Wales, Northeast, maybe a few members nationally, and also my other organisation, the Structural Timber Association, also participates. So
excellent.
Yeah, it's a wide audience, but I suspect that the vast majority will probably be Midlands based. I would imagine, because they've got the most interest, skin in the game, shall we say?
Okay.
Yeah. So we're growing all the time. So we'll just give it another minute or two, Ambrose, if you don't mind.
That's fine, Andrew.
As people come in. So just while we are waiting to start, just a reminder, I'm sure you all know how Zoom works nowadays, but at the bottom of the screen, you will see a Q&A box. So if you wouldn't mind any questions that you have, just pop them in the Q&A box, please, and then we can ask them of Ambrose at the end of the presentation. And also there's a chat box at the bottom of the screen. It would be quite good to know who you are, which company you're representing today, and also which geographic area in the UK you represent, because as I've just been discussing with Ambrose, we do have people from across the UK. So if you could, in the chat box, just put your name, your company, and the geographic location that you are representing. That would be really helpful. So Q&A box for questions, which we'll cover later, and then the chat box for who you are, where you're from. I'm gonna take a note from one of these I did in the States last week. I was a guest on one of these type events in the States, and they do it very differently to us. It certainly made me look subdued, I think it would be true to say. So all these people that are putting where you're from. So Andrew Wedlake, hi, is how they said. So hi from BCM Construction in Wales.
Andrew, good afternoon. Andrew is an old face from a previous live. So Andrew, it's good to hear from you, and nice to see you.
Good. So we've got Lee Napper from Falcon Power, UK wide. Neil Maloney, Pinpoint Mapping, Bristol in the Southwest. Olivier Essler from Santec, based in Taunton. So they're coming in. In America, they do the name checks. They stop the presentation every little while and they do the name check, the shout outs as they call it. So
shout outs, exactly.
It's a different world. I think what I'm going to do, as it's now 2 minutes past 12, Ambrose, is make an official start, and then we can, those that, and they're still coming in now, so they'll have to join in when we start. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us for our regular Friday webinars at 12 o'clock. As you know by now, these webinars are brought to you first of all by the Structural Timber Association, of which I'm Chief Executive, but also CE, Constructing Excellence in the North East, in Wales, in the Midlands and the South West, and also now our national members are joining in. Initially, we kicked off last March and April, talking about COVID-19 topics, but we've broadened that throughout this year as the years unfolded to talk about key and important issues of the day. And today is one of those occasions where we are talking about HS2, which of course is the largest construction project, certainly in the UK, and I suspect, Ambrose, in Europe. So really excited to hear what you've got to say today. Again, confirmation, if you've got any questions, please pop them in the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen, and we'll deal with those at the end of the presentation. If you could, in the chat box, just tell us who you are. That would be useful, particularly for Ambrose, so he knows his audience. But now, Ambrose, delighted that you could join us. As Chief Executive of CE Midlands, I've been working with HS2 now for about 2.5 years, and I know you've got some great stories to tell. I know there's a lot of best practice already that's taken place, but now with the contract signed early this year and with Boris's decision to build, so we're going to be taking the country out of recession, I think your project is probably the most important in the UK. So what you have to say is critical, and I look forward to hearing from you. So Ambrose, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you. I will go mute, turn off my camera, and see you at the other end of the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. And thank you everybody for joining us. I'm grateful to the Construction Excellence Group and the associated organisations for inviting us along today. It's a privilege at any occasion to speak on behalf of HS2, particularly in the current circumstances. The important message for you today from me is that I feel genuinely privileged to work on a programme of this scale. Andrew was correct, it is Europe's largest infrastructure programme, and we've got a significant challenge ahead of us, which I'd like to describe for you today. So I will share my screen, and then I'll talk about what I do within HS2. So you can just bear with me for one moment. Okay, I'm assuming that you can now see the first slide in my presentation.
We can see that, I think, Ambrose. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Okay, so first of all, what do I do on HS2? I'm responsible as Project Client Director for the central section of the Phase 1 civil works contracts, which is running 80 kilometres from approximately Great Missenden all the way through Northamptonshire, Oxfordshire, Buckinghamshire, through to South Warwickshire. 80 kilometres of major civil works. We will be moving approximately 45 million cubic metres of earthworks over the next 2 to 3 years. A very significant undertaking, multiple structures, viaducts and bridges, multiple cuttings and embankments, running a high-speed railway through essentially the centre of England. My responsibility is that of project client. I have a HS2 team on the project of about 50 staff who are responsible for ensuring the appropriate execution of our contract, which is worth about 2.8 billion pounds sterling in capital works. Our partners in delivery are EKFB, who are Eiffage, Kier, Ferrovial and BAM. Ferrovial and BAM having joined the fray not long after the demise of Carillion, who many of you will know. The unique nature of HS2 is such that we work in partnership. So I work as part of an integrated project team, which sees the HS2 team along with our partners team of some 4,000 people working together to deliver the project together. It's a further development of the partnership concept and is genuinely driving common behaviours across the programme. So that's what I do on the programme. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the broad concept of HS2, what we're here to deliver for the country, some of the economic benefits of the programme, some of the challenges we have on the way over the next few years, and most importantly, how we're going about being a good neighbour for those who are affected by what is a significant infrastructure undertaking. So I will move on with my slide deck. I hope that, okay, there we go. So to start, a little bit about the project. HS2 was set up by the Department of Transport with a mandate to develop and promote the UK's new high-speed network. Over the past decade, we've been designing the railway, consulting and seeking the powers through Parliament to begin construction. We received parliamentary approval for the first phase of the railway between Birmingham and London in 2017, and we've been laying the groundwork for construction to begin ever since. The main construction works for phase 1 have now begun. Phase 2A extends the railway from the West Midlands to Crewe, and the phase 2A bill is progressing through Parliament. Phase 2B of HS2 completes the project, taking the railway to Manchester in the west and Leeds in the east via the East Midlands. As part of an integrated rail plan for the North and Midlands, the government is considering how best to integrate phase 2B of HS2 with Northern Powerhouse Rail, the Midlands Rail Hub, and other projects to deliver benefits more quickly and with greater value for money. Current plans are for phase 1 to begin operation between Birmingham, Curzon Street and London between 2029 and 2033, and for the full network to be complete by 2040. As you may know, our chair, Alan Cook, produced a full and detailed stocktake analysis for the government last year. The government subsequently appointed a review under Doug Ogilvie to look at all aspects of the project, including budget and schedule, and whether other solutions were viable for the programme. The conclusion was unequivocal backing for the programme and some detailed recommendations for the programme going forward. We've now ensured the schedule, costs and scope of the programme are realistic and provide value for the UK taxpayer. In April this year, 2020, we received what is called Notice to Proceed for Phase 1. That's an event that's marked in my mind. We got notice to proceed on my project on the 14th of April. That means we're now beginning to construct the railway, building the bridges, boring the tunnels and laying the tracks. It's worth at this stage saying something about the current challenges we have across the country. And this is, of course, a difficult time with the coronavirus still present for us all. Construction is a core industry. Many thousands of people rely on it for their livelihood. So we're working to strict guidelines to make sure the work that needs doing now can happen safely and to Public Health England guidelines. Indeed, HS2 is an important part of the economic recovery. HS2 will underpin the construction and engineering sectors for the next 20 years, sectors that support nearly 10% of UK jobs. So it's an exciting time for us. We're off the drawing board and the project is becoming a reality. Today, I want to start with an overview of the HS2 project and why it's going to be transformational for the country. And because HS2 is more than a railway, it's the most important economic regeneration project in Britain that's happened in decades. Some detail on the phases. For phase 1, in 2017, we're granted the powers by Parliament to begin the construction of phase 1 of HS2, which will be the new high-speed line between Birmingham and London. Since then, we've been laying the foundations ready for construction to start in full. These enabling works, things like ecological surveys, archaeology, utility and road diversions, groundworks and site clearances, are now substantially complete. In 2020, after careful consideration, Government announced their full support for the HS2 programme and issued notice to proceed to the 4 joint venture companies, who will each be responsible for building part of the phase 1 route. I'm sure many on the call are familiar with the organisations involved within our partnerships. These joint ventures, with contracts worth around 12 billion in total, will be boring the tunnels, building the bridges and laying the track of the first railway built north of London in over 100 years. We expect services to begin running between London and Old Oak Common and Birmingham between 2029 and 2033, and from Euston Terminus between 2031 and 2036. I'll now turn to phase 2A. In 2017, we deposited a bill to Parliament to gain the powers extending the line from the West Midlands up to Crewe. In July 2019, the bill was agreed in the House of Commons with an overwhelming majority with just 17 votes against. The bill is currently following parliamentary process in the House of Lords, and we hope to receive royal assent this year in 2020. Following the OKV review and publication of the full business case in 2020, the government intends to align the opening of Phase 2A with Phase 1. Turning to Phase 2B. For Phase 2B, which continues the route in the northwest towards Manchester and towards the northeast towards Leeds via the East Midlands, the government has approved the route. Along the route, we've been engaging with local communities to discuss how the project is developing and taking both formal and informal views. Following the OKV review, the government announced its unequivocal backing for the full HS2 network, and we're now working closely with National Infrastructure Commission on an integrated rail plan to ensure that Phase 2B will be fully integrated with other programmes such as High Speed North and Midlands Connect. Work has begun on preparing a bill to go through Parliament, extending the route from Crewe through to Manchester. Just want to spend some time talking about the HS2 route. HS2 will be the new high-speed backbone of our rail network, connecting the city centres of Birmingham, Manchester, Leeds and London. Once fully completed, we'll have built 345 miles of high-speed track, equivalent to over half the length from John O'Groats to Land's End as the crow flies. The new line will include intermediate stops at Old Oak Common in West London, Birmingham and Manchester airports, Crewe and at Totton in the East Midlands between Derby and Nottingham. HS2 will also be integrated in the East West and West Coast main lines, so HS2 trains will cross over to the existing network and serve towns and cities in the north of England and Scotland. HS2 trains will stop at over 25 stations. This will open up access to high-speed network to around half the population of Britain and cut journey times between the north and the south. When fully operational, up to 48 high-speed 2 trains with up to 1,100 seats each will be running every hour on the UK's rail network. This is a huge undertaking, Britain's first new intercity rail line north of London in 100 years, Europe's largest infrastructure project. So why does Britain need HS2? HS2 is designed to address 3 key problems facing the country at present. Firstly, our railways are overcrowded and desperately need more capacity. Our economy is unbalanced with more focus needed in the Midlands and in the North. And our climate's changing, a huge part of working towards low carbon economy, which will involve decarbonising our transport network. HS2 will provide more capacity, will cut carbon, and will deliver better connectivity across the nation. On the subject of more capacity, demand for rail travel in the UK has more than doubled in the last 20 years. HS2 will add vital capacity to the existing rail network by taking long distance trains off it, creating thousands of extra seats and space for more local commuter and freight services. On the subject of cutting carbon, HS2 will be a low carbon alternative for long distance travel. It will reduce the need for car and plane journeys and will play a vital role in delivering the government's ambitious goal of Britain becoming net zero carbon by 2050. In terms of better connectivity, HS2 is the most important economic regeneration project in decades. Given its scale, it will act as a catalyst for growth and help level up the country, boosting growth in the Midlands and North and opening up new employment and leisure opportunities for millions of people. In terms of contribution to the rail network, most of Britain's railway network was built over 100 years ago. Demand for rail travel has more than doubled over the last 20 years, and rail passenger numbers continue to grow. Every week, Network Rail is investing more than 130 million of improvements for passengers. That is 22% of the UK's entire infrastructure spend. In the past decade, rail infrastructure investment has totaled more than £74 billion. But even this can't provide all the additional capacity required on the network. Further upgrades to the existing lines would cause significant disruption for passengers and line-side communities, and would deliver a fraction of the capacity as a new railway line. It is anticipated that upgrading existing lines instead of building phase 1 would result in 2,700 weekend closures over 15 years. Clearly a capacity issue that couldn't be met. As a brand new line, HS2 is the best option for taking pressure off the existing network and adding extra capacity where it's needed most. When the full high-speed network is running, we expect HS2 trains to carry over 300,000 passengers a day. HS2 is future-proofed. Our network can grow with increased demand. Some regional examples of how HS2 will benefit the regions, and I note I'm predominantly speaking to people in the Midlands, but in London and the South East, HS2 will more than double the total number of seats available out of Euston in the evening rush hour. Places like Milton Keynes, Berkhamsted, Northampton and Hemel Hempstead and Watford Junction could benefit from the released capacity with more regular services. In the West Midlands, the existing West Coast Main Line that serves Birmingham, Coventry and Wolverhampton is almost full. HS2 will increase capacity and reduce overcrowding. Network Rail suggests HS2 could provide 10 additional train services across the Midlands by unlocking additional capacity in central Birmingham. And the benefits extend through the northwest, through Wales and the southwest, and through Yorkshire, through the connectivity that HS2 will deliver. HS2 will be the low carbon alternative for long distance travel. A journey on HS2 will emit very low carbon emissions per passenger kilometre compared to road or air, and lower than the average across the UK's existing rail network. HS2 is crucial to realising the government's ambition to bring in greenhouse gas emissions down to net zero by 2050. Transport is now the largest emitter of UK greenhouse gases, accounting for 33% of emissions, having overtaken the energy sector as the country's largest polluter. In terms of carbon emissions, a journey on HS2 will be 17 times better than a domestic flight, 7 times better than the similar road journey, and twice as efficient as the current rail network. So important carbon benefits arising from the programme. HS2 is the most important social and economic regeneration project in Britain for decades. On the subject of social connectivity, it will help level up the country and be a catalyst for growth. Slower journey times, overcrowding and poor reliability of trains between our major cities, particularly between the Midlands and the north of England, are holding back the country and have been well publicised in the media. This restricts the talent businesses have access to, and it becomes more difficult to trade with each other, limiting the potential for our great regional cities. Increasing productivity is critical to increasing economic growth, and to level up the UK economy, high productivity jobs need to move from London to the regions, and particularly to the UK's major cities. HS2 will provide better connections between the Midlands and the North, raising national productivity. With many places brought back within an hour of each other, people will have more choice about where they live and where they work. Today, Britain is less of an island of opportunity than it could be. Too many people struggle to find work they could easily get from home. Businesses can struggle to find the right employees. Services, the right employees, and services and families deserve better. Speed is not the objective, it is saving time that matters. HS2 trains will be fast, with a maximum operating speed of over 220 miles per hour. But if you cut journey times between places, it encourages people and businesses to seek new opportunities. It will help Britain be more productive, helping businesses reach new clients and hire new people. It will provide people with more opportunities within reach to live, work, study, or holiday in different places. As I mentioned earlier, HS2 is more than a railway. It's an investment in Britain's future. The construction of HS2 offers a once-in-a-generation opportunity to change the face of the construction and engineering industries. HS2 will upskill Britain, provide new jobs and new long-term careers for people from every part of the UK. Construction has now started, and at peak, HS2 will support over 30,000 jobs, including 2,000 new apprenticeships. 70% of the jobs will be outside of London. This will produce a legacy of highly skilled, highly experienced workers who will help UK industry to flourish in the future at home and abroad. The careers we'll support will be accessible to young people, local people and people from diverse groups who may not previously have worked in the railway, engineering or construction industries. Currently 2020, there are more than 10,000 people up and down the line working on HS2 and building bigger for Britain than ever before. Each major contract to build and develop HS2 will result in tens of thousands of further contracts for other businesses across the supply chain. There are currently around 2,000 UK businesses who have delivered work on HS2. 70% of them are small and medium-sized enterprises, and 98% of them are British. On my own contract alone, we're currently recruiting at a rate of 70 people per month, and we're seeing the benefits of that recruitment going into local communities along our route. So this isn't all about building a railway and creating an engineering project. We also have our own policies and objectives driven by government on maintaining and creating a green corridor along the route. Inevitably, HS2 is going to leave a footprint on the British countryside, but we're working to ensure it is a positive one. We will deliver a railway that respects the natural environment by conserving, replacing or enhancing wildlife habitats. This includes avoiding or reducing any impact on the countryside in the first place, with over half of the phase 1 route in a tunnel or in a cutting. We will create a green corridor running alongside the route. We will plant 7 million trees and shrubs and leave behind 30% more wildlife habitats than exist currently. Already over 430,000 trees have been planted and 50 wildlife habitats created, bringing life to the new green corridor before a single train has even started running. Our sustainability approach at HS2 commits us to achieving no net loss of biodiversity along the route. We will protect and enhance wildlife habitats, ensuring they are bigger, better, and more connected than when we found them. And finally, I'd like to deal with the aspects of HS2 being a good neighbour. HS2 and our contractors will be good neighbours to the communities we work in. This means treating local communities with respect and consideration and keeping local people informed about what we are doing. How we behave during construction is as important to the project's success as the engineering itself. In our community engagement strategy, we commit to listening to local people's concerns and taking all reasonable steps to address them. We do this through our community engagement teams based out and on the ground along the route, in local communities and through the HS2 help desk that is available all day, every day. Independent commissioners appointed by the government hold us to account for the way we treat communities and handle complaints. So far, we've engaged with more than 65,000 people at our engagement events, with 82% feedback that we listen and respond well to their concerns. Two funds have been set up to provide an opportunity to regenerate public spaces for the local communities along the route. The Community and Environment Fund, or the CEF, and the Business and Local Environment Fund are collectively worth £40 million and will leave a sustainable legacy where possible. So that's a very brief summary of where we are with HS2. If you are a supplier or an organisation that wishes to get involved in the HS2 programme, I would suggest that you contact our website. We have a specific supply chain portal which allows and provides information for people to register as potential suppliers and to get involved. I was at a business engagement seminar on Wednesday of this week where we heard from a very small site investigation supplier to the construction sector based in London. Their turnover has actually increased threefold through their involvement in undertaking site investigations and surveys for our projects towards the London part of the route. And it was thrilling to hear how a small organisation has developed on the back of HS2. There are opportunities outside construction as well. All of our contractor partnerships are working with local communities to work with business enterprise groups to develop opportunities for local business, whether that be accommodation for workers travelling across the country for HS2, or whether it be supply chain services such as catering, provision of office support services, and a myriad of very substantial opportunities for local business. So again, I'd refer you to our website if you wish to get involved in the HS2 supply chain. I hope what I've had to say to you this afternoon has been beneficial. It's kind of stock material at the moment, but I'll be very pleased to answer any specific questions you have about the programme. And thank you for joining us this afternoon.
Ambrose, thank you so much. That was really interesting, and wow, what an opportunity for so many people. Really exciting. And I'm sure from a constructing excellence point of view, there'll be lots of opportunities for us to showcase the best practice that is obviously going to emanate from your project in so many areas. We have got some questions. The first one is from your ex-colleague, Andrew Wedlake. Do you think that the effect of COVID and the subsequent change in people's working habits, locations, will impact on the demand for rail travel in the future? If so, could this have any impact on the overall requirement for HS2?
Andrew, good to make contact with you again. It's probably been about 15 years, but look, Andrew, first of all, on the challenges of COVID, I hope you'll agree with me, working in the construction sector, that we have an ambition that the COVID impact on the country is as short term as we can make it as a nation. And whilst there's no doubt that demand for transportation has been impacted, we've seen the numbers from government, and those impacts are very real. Bear in mind that HS2's design parameters, the basis on which HS2 has been developed, is looking 100 years into the future. So I suppose if we take the strategic view of this, HS2's requirements and the demand for HS2's capacity will go a long way into the future, long after COVID has hopefully been forgotten. In terms of the practicalities on site and current impact, most people in HS2, whether they work for our partners or for the organisation ourselves, are not taking public transport at present. Most of our sites are prohibiting the use of public transport to get to site for the reasons of safety of personnel on site. But we hope we'll be in a position with the current precautions that things will improve in the new year.
Thank you, Ambrose.
Answer the question.
There's another question which is somewhat aligned to that previous one, so I won't read out the whole question. It's from an anonymous attendee who talks around, the same decline in usage at the moment because of COVID. And the anonymous attendee says, whilst it is creating jobs, would it not be better to invest in upgrading the existing rail network and investing in high-speed broadband more suited to working in new, not old world? I think I probably know the answer to that one, but I'll let you give it.
Okay, personal view, the response on broadband, I see no reason why the investment can't be in both. You can have your own views as to priority. In terms of the existing rail network, I hope I made the point in the presentation that to equip the existing rail network with the same capacity that HS2 is providing, would create such disruption to commuters and to passenger traffic that it just would be impossible to deliver. And I think both ourselves and Network Rail have acknowledged that and have identified that a new railway is the only way to free up capacity on the existing network. That means that both freight and commuter traffic can improve.
Thank you, Ambrose. Okay, I've got a question here from Robert Williams, Ambrose. Robert asks, have there been any lessons learned from Crossrail and their public failings in delivering a new rail network?
Okay, Robert. Well, I'm an infrastructure professional, and I'd suggest I'm of a sufficient age to put failure into context. When you look at a major infrastructure program like Crossrail, it's my view that the real benefits of Crossrail are still to be identified. There is noise around its delivery. There is noise around its budget delivery. But as an infrastructure professional, I kind of take that media noise in context and would prefer to wait until the benefits of Crossrail have been identified and the current operational issues are long forgotten. Clearly, as a major program, all programs have their challenges. So I'd take the context of problems in that spirit. We are certainly learning lessons from Crossrail. Most immediately are the contract models that we've established for delivering HS2 have been based on a further development of the partnership ethos that was developed during the Crossrail program. And many of the people leading that strategy worked on Crossrail in the early development years and have taken the spirit of partnership, incentivizing the construction sector to deliver successfully, have taken that on to the next step through the contract models that we delivered.
I think it's true to say, Ambrose, I seem to remember there was controversy around the Millennium Dome and the building for the Olympics in 2012.
Yep.
And we've only got to see the positive impact that's had in East London in terms of investment and infrastructure. So I'm assuming that this will have a similar impact. I mean, I've had the privilege of seeing certain drawings and so on, and if I give Stafford, for example, as an example,
yep.
I'm already seeing the potential investment for Stafford as a town that HS2 will bring. Is that a true reflection, do you think?
I think that's correct. And Andrew, if you look at the centre of Birmingham and the level of development that's taken place in central Birmingham in recent years, it's unrecognisable from the city that I knew some 20 years ago. So this is a sort of a generator of investment, and any major program has similar benefits, and they are recognised. They're recognised in the business cases that are developed for government. It all goes into the cost benefit.
It's going to be a catalyst, isn't it? And I think
Absolutely.
We're going to see the towns and cities up and down the route, particularly those where there are stations, really flourishing.
Yeah, what I would refer to is the route for a high-speed one, which goes from Kent, Dover and Folkestone up through to London. If you ask the residents of those parts of the country, having experienced the benefits of high-speed one over the last 10 years, they are very supportive of the fact that they're now running a zero carbon railway from Dover through to Kent, and is an excellent suburban line, and the economic benefits have arisen all along that route to support the railway.
Okay, thank you. I've got one here from Roddy Gordon, who says there's a lot of concern in the press at the moment concerning the destruction of ancient woodlands. How does HS2 intend to address these concerns?
Thanks, Roddy. It's part of the news headlines this morning on BBC as well, in that scientific experts are questioning our approach to the displacement of ancient woodland. What we are doing is trying to mitigate those impacts through minimising the extent to which we have to impact ancient woodland. There is no doubt that towards the north of our route, significant parts of ancient woodland are being affected. On my project, we're actually skirting along the edges of ancient woodland plots. Mine is the project that deals with St John's Wood, which was in the media a couple of weeks ago. And we also have some challenges with ancient woodland elsewhere on the route. What we do is try to create alternative habitats. We are translocating the soils from those ancient woodlands to ensure that we retain the habitats, but the immediate impact is significant. That can't be hidden. We have expertise, and we're driven by our undertakings and assurances that have been bound into the Act for developing HS2 to ensure that we honour those commitments to government in mitigating any impact we have on ancient woodland sites. They are controversial aspects of the programme, I have to acknowledge. We're doing our best to manage those impacts, and that programme continues as we speak.
Thank you, Ambrose. Interesting question from my colleague Howard Betts, which fits perfectly into the Constructing Excellence model or raison d'etre. Interested that you are working in an integrated project team. Success in construction sector is mixed on the success of this way of working, e.g. Crossrail. Can you please give us some insight as to how effective this way of working is for you and for the project?
Okay, I've been quite open with the group. I'd suggest it's early days. My current challenge with my own project team is development of what we call full operating capability. And since we've just started this journey down a 5-year program of work, then we're working through workshops, through relationship building, through implementing behavioural models across a team of some 1,700 staff to ensure that those relationships are in the right place before we really start the complexity of the work that we're delivering. So I'd suggest to Howard that it's probably early days, but we have all of the guidance, all of the documentation in place, all of the plans in place, and both myself and my opposite number in my contracting joint venture, I can assure you have a relationship that means we're going to succeed on this program. Yeah. So if you get it right at leadership level, there is a good chance that it's going to flow down through the teams that are working with you.
Absolutely right. All my experience of 20 years since Egan and Latham is that the key is the leadership. It flows from there. And I suppose I ought to just put a bit of a plug in for CE. If you do need any assistance in that line, we're here to be an honest broker. And obviously we've got 20 plus years of working in the field of collaborative working, integrated supply chain, lean processes. Anyway, back to the questions. I've got one here from Faris. It's worth noting how impressive the way HS2 is encouraging innovation with intensives, if that is the right word to use, brackets, pushing more of the people involved to bring forward various ideas to increase construction efficiencies. Faris is saying maybe worth elaborating on this point, please, Ambrose.
Faris, thank you for the question. I suspect you may be involved in it in some way because
Faris is, I can tell you, yes.
Yeah. So Faris, thank you for the question. Let me tell you that we're proud of the fact that we have a very strong innovations program within HS2. I can give you one example, which relates to the control and monitoring of earthworks plant across my particular contract. We've got to move 45 million cubic meters of earthworks over the next 4 years. We'll be acquiring some 800 items of brand new plant, and it's very substantial plant, as you might understand. EKFB, my partners, have delivered what is a innovation to HS2, which is the use of the Digger program, or the Digger IT platform, which means that we have sensors equipped in all of the items of plant where we monitor performance, monitor downtime, even get to the point of predicting maintenance schedules for items of plant, and can monitor the tracking and movement of every single bulldozer, every single dumper that's running across my 80-kilometer route, centrally reported back to a central system. It's a marvelous innovation. It forms part of the HS2 Innovations Hub. It's been recognized and recommended for rollout across the program. And we're very proud of the fact that that innovation has been brought in through my particular part of the program.
Excellent.
But there are innovations across the board on various subjects. And they all go towards, Andrew, what is continuing pressure from government, which is cost efficiency in delivering value for money for the UK taxpayer.
Yeah. And as you know, we're very keen to showcase all your innovations and best practice when appropriate. So we're here to help on that one as well. Just a call out to those watching. If you've got any more questions, please put them in the Q&A box at the bottom. I've only got one more left to ask, which I'm going to ask now. So if there are any more questions, please speak now or forever hold thy tongue, I think is the saying. So I've got one again from another anonymous attendee who says the initial budget has been revised upwards since the official construction officially began in April by some 5.3 billion for unknown costs, or nearly 5%. Given research in construction sector has found that some 21% of revenues are lost through quality issues, how will the cost of HS2 not rise further to say 150 billion by 2029 when stage one is supposed to be open?
Okay, I need to be careful in terms of acknowledging increases in cost, Andrew, as you might expect.
Indeed.
Those increases may be against already established risk profiles within the programme. So whilst the press may suggest that increases are cost-based, they may be associated with drawdown on contingency on the programme. So it would be unwise for me to comment directly on cost increases. As far as future increases are concerned, if you look at the movement on major programs of infrastructure and the experience, usually you will find that increases in cost are associated with changes in scope or changes in requirements, and we will continue to manage those closely. I have very specific procedures on a very tight reporting cycle through to DFT and to government, which require that I monitor and report any potential changes in scope that are coming through. But given the scale of the undertaking, there are risks out there for which we've provided for in our returns to government, and those risks are being managed very closely.
Okay, thank you, Ambrose, very much. I'm just looking at my Q&A box at the bottom. There don't appear to be any more questions. So what I'd like to do, first of all, Ambrose, is to thank you for your time. I found, as I say, the presentation not only interesting, but inspirational in terms of the opportunities that it's going to bring, particularly for the Midlands and the North. But I'm sure the spin-offs are going to positively affect the whole UK. In fact, I don't want to put too much pressure on your shoulders, but I would suggest that the eyes of the UK are very much on you in terms of bringing us out of the COVID-19 recession. I think I've got another question that's just come in. So I'm going to ask this of you because we've got a bit of time, if you don't mind. A lesson from the Olympic project was mean, lean and green. Can you give me your view on this?
Mean, lean and green, that's a great strapline. And we have a number of colleagues in my team who've come out of the Olympic programme, the 2012 programme, which is still an example of best practice that's quoted throughout the industry. So I'm very happy to take on a buzzword if it works. Lean, as far as lean is concerned, we're under constant pressure to secure value for money for government. I have a continuing innovations program, a continuing program of cost efficiency to identify and developing our scope of works. Mean, I'm not so sure mean applies to our program at the moment. I'd suggest that we have developed and continue to develop positive relationships where, I suppose in terms of the mean comment, what does it feel like to work in HS2? I'll be honest, I think it feels like an organisation that genuinely cares for the safety and health of its people and genuinely wants people to work in partnership for the benefit of the country. That is the driver. If you look at HS2's values, as indicated on our website, it's all around delivering a good output on behalf of UK PLC.
And you'd agree, Ambrose, the construction industry has moved on a tad since those days.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you look at our current build mantra, build back faster off-site, build back better with quality at the heart of everything we do. And of course, build back greener, which is what you've been talking about with the net zero. So I think as a whole industry, we've moved on from that, don't you?
I would agree. And I suppose the nearest thing to mean that I could describe is the fact that we have absolute focus on delivering this program on schedule.
Efficiently and effectively,
yeah, and that's where the difficult conversations occur across the program. You know, how are we going to get this done on time, and how do we value the one commodity that we're short of, which is time. And then on the green front, I'm pretty confident with the professionals and the undertakings we have with government that this is going to be delivered with the minimum carbon impact that this project can undertake. My figures for my particular project, we've currently got an ambition to reduce our carbon impact on behalf of my project from that which was originally estimated by 50%. And that's a significant challenge for us at the moment. But we continue down that route, and the entire phase 1 program has similar challenges.
Thank you. Once again, I was thanking you, and then the question came in. So Thank you again for your time, Ambrose, much appreciated. For those that are interested, we have our Constructing Excellence annual summit in a fortnight's time, Thursday, the 5th of November. And details are on the CE Midlands website. But the keynote speaker is Andrew Stevenson MP, who is the Minister of State for HS2.
HS2, correct.
Which I think indicates the, if you like, the importance of HS2 to CE Midlands over the next decade, probably. So if you want to hear from the Minister, please sign up via the CE Midlands website. I've just got a message here from Robert Williams saying, thank you, Ambrose, for the presentation, very informative. And I've now got another question that's come in. They're coming in now. When I try to say thank you and goodbye, they come in. So does a section of the team monitor other railway progress in the world, such as Rail Baltica, California High Speed, to learn lessons, etc.?
I can tell you absolutely that we do. In fact, I have a former colleague working on California High Speed. I joined HS2 after a year working at Metrolinx in Toronto, which is a program of smaller scale but similar challenges. And through the professional organizations that we work with, we're constantly monitoring development of rail programs around the world. So thanks for the question. It's definitely happening.
Yeah. Thank you. For the third and final time, I'm going to bring this webinar to a conclusion. First of all, by thanking Howard and Leaders Meets. Thank you to your team. Much appreciated for the work you do every week. Ambrose, fantastic presentation. As I say, inspirational. Wow, what an opportunity for all of us. So really excited to think that we might be part of your journey in terms of sharing best practice and so on. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be talking about the net zero agenda. As you know, the government have indicated that we need to reach net zero by 2050. The local authorities seem to be competing against one another in terms of when they're going to do it locally. 6 months ago, we had Birmingham City Council come and talk to us about their plans for 2030. Maria Dunn kindly said that once it had gone through the council meetings and bureaucracy, she would come back and update us. And she's doing that next week. So next week, if you're interested in sustainability, if you're interested in the net zero agenda, and Birmingham are going to be, if you like, giving us a case study in terms of what they're doing as a local authority. So that's next week at 12 o'clock. And again, you can book your place via the CE Midlands website. But for now, the time is, let me see, 10 to 1. I'm going to thank Ambrose, Howard, and everyone for watching. And I wish you a very good weekend. And I'll see you all again this time next week. Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Hi, Ambrose.
Yes, sir.
Just before you go, would you be prepared to send us a PDF of your slides so that we can put those alongside the presentation?
Yeah, very happy to do that, Howard.
Because what we are finding is a lot of people actually, more people listen after the event than they actually do attending. So, so it'll probably get quite a lot of viewings.
That's fine.
I'm very interested in integrated project teams because using Dartmoor, I've had quite a lot of them out there in the past.
Of course.
Particularly in the military, working on collaboration and partnering. So I don't know whether you'd be interested in a chat. I'd certainly be interested in if you're prepared to share a bit of learning, because I'm always trying to sort of learn and put things into the domain of helping a broader industry, because the construction sector's pretty poor at collaboration.
Yeah, very happy to do that, Howard. If it's with a view to an opportunity with HS2, the first thing you have to do is enter through the supplier gateway and register yourself. But very happy to help with sharing knowledge, talking best practice. Whether that's when you're next down here in Devon or whether you want to meet up somewhere along the route, very happy.
I'm very happy to meet up on a physical one. We could meet sort of Bovey Tracy or somewhere like that. If you come over the moor and I come down. But yeah, I mean, I will register for HS2. That I wasn't actually looking for business particularly,
that's fine.
but I will, because I did a lot of work with Skynet 5, which you may have heard of, which is we help them to actually meet their project goals. So that was a similar sort of very large project, not as big as 100-odd billion, but it was still measured in the billions. So yeah, so I will. So if you could send me the PDFs.
Yes, I'll do that.
That would be super, and I'll be in touch then.
Thanks, Howard.
And thank you very much for today. Have a great weekend. You're going sailing?
Out of the water now. End of the year.
Oh, right. So you're not a winter sailor then?
I've got a winter of anti-fouling and sandpapering.
You may know the name Tom Barton. Do you know the name of Tom Barton?
No, I'm afraid I don't.
Well, he headed up GIRI, which is the Get It Right initiative. For CITB. Yeah, unfortunately, he died out sailing, just coming into port last weekend in Hamble.
I didn't know that. Gosh.
No, I know. No sign at all. He was out with his wife, and sadly, she was putting the fenders out, and the boat started going all over the place. And she looked behind, and he'd had a heart attack. So,
oh dear. Oh, that's very sad.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Still, at least he had the last sail.
Yeah, my sailing is rather less ambitious than yours. I'd started sailing. I have to say, I suffered from chronic seasickness all of my engineering career.
Most of us do.
And I worked offshore in my early graduate days. So as I got older, it kind of got better. So when I gave up playing rugby in Tavistock, I decided to do something to keep me out of the pub. So I bought this very old and poorly maintained boat 3 years ago, and myself and my wife did it up, and we're now sailing. So I did my day skippers. I haven't done my yacht masters course yet, but absolutely enjoying it, because every day you go down there, you learn something about a boat or learn something new. So,
but as a Devonian, one hopes you're supporting Exeter Chiefs tomorrow.
I will be, and I watched them the other day. In fact, I'm, as you might know from the surname, I'm not a Devonian. I'm an Irishman, but I've kind of been here 35 years, so it's definitely home. And in fact, 3 of the lads on that Exeter Chiefs side, I've refereed at under 14 level.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Great.
It's just amazing to see them as young professionals now. They were all 3 of them were England schoolboys at the time, playing for Kingsbridge and playing for various other clubs in Devon. But now they're, obviously they've gone on to the pinnacle of their careers. So it's great to see it.
So I've got a bottle of fizz in, hoping we can do the double.
I think they will. Northampton aren't looking strong. They've got 4 key players out of the first team.
The Wasps, no. I mean,
Wasps, yeah.
But the referee's gone down now.
Oh, you're joking. I didn't hear that. Oh, dear.
Yeah, Wayne Barnes is tested positive today.
As an Irishman, I wouldn't be too concerned about Mr. Barnes. We're not great fans of Wayne Barnes, I have to tell you. He never gives us anything.
Yeah, I'm not very fond of another couple of referees, but we won't go into that.
No, of course.
But so I should be glued at 6 o'clock.
I hope I'll be watching it as well. I hope they do well.
Okay.
So Howard, thanks for meeting up, and you let me know when you're in Devon. It's lunch on me, and we'll have a good chat about.
Okay.
IPT.
Well, thanks very much.
Okay.
I'll see you soon then. Okay then. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.